President-elect Donald Trump gave immigration reform top billing when he was out on the campaign trail. And under his cabinet pick, General John Kelly, Trump says the Department of Homeland Security will focus on deporting illegal immigrants here in the United States. Now, joining us to talk about this, Teresa Cardinal Brown. She's the Director of Immigration Policy with the Bipartisan Policy Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Molly, for having me.
Let's kick off with talking about this cabinet pick for the Department of Homeland Security. He's tapped the retired General John Kelly, a four-star general who's been known to be very tough when it comes to immigration, tough on the drug cartels, tough on human trafficking as well. A lot of experience. He served with the U.S. Southern Command from 2012 to 2015, and immigration hawks may very well approve of him, but I just want to get your thoughts on this particular pick.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of focus on immigration, but it's important to remember that the Homeland Security Department has an awful lot of missions that are not immigration, including emergency management and response and counterterrorism, and certainly having a military person in those roles can be helpful. With regard to his experience from Southcom, I think one of the things he brings to the immigration question and about the border is that he understands the sources of migration from Central and South America. So it's not just about what we do at the border. It's about how we address the smuggling criminal organizations and the cartels that are pushing people to come north, and also the criminality and desperation in those countries, in part caused by those cartels, that's driving people to come north. So I think he may have a more holistic view of how to deal with the immigration than just deporting people or putting resources at the border.
Yeah, and you bring up a very interesting point. I mean, in recent years, there have been fewer people from Mexico actually coming across the border, and the numbers have increased as far as those coming from further down in South America and coming up through. And also we're seeing more families and more younger people, more children versus single males. So what can be actually done about the immigration problem there on the southern border when we're seeing such a shift in who is actually coming across the border?
Well, I think a lot more of the focus of our immigration enforcement has to be, as I said, not just at the border, but in looking south, working with the countries in Central America on their crime and corruption problems that are driving people to come north, helping them with their development. That's not necessarily in the Homeland Security space, but certainly Homeland Security can help them with their own border controls, help Mexico as these immigrants are transiting through those countries. And, that's, I think, where we're going to have to be looking, because once they arrive at the border, most of them are not trying to escape from Border Patrol. They're actually turning themselves in and asking for asylum. So it's not about preventing people from sneaking in. It's about managing this flow.
When you talk about managing the flow, really interesting numbers. In the fiscal year 2016, the total apprehensions by the Border Patrol on our southwest border numbered 408,000, but that represents an increase over 2015, but lower than 2014 and 2013. So there's been a bit of a fluctuation when we talk about the numbers actually being apprehended.
Yeah,
is that what we'll see in the future, a continued fluctuation?
Well, there's fluctuation year to year almost always. There's also context to be recognized that at 400,000, apprehensions at the border are much lower than they were, say, in 2000, when we were apprehending almost 1 million people a day, 1 million people a year at the border. So overall, border apprehensions are significantly lower than historic levels. But yes, they have been higher the last couple years. Almost all of that is driven by the Central American migration problem. It's not coming from Mexico. As a matter of fact, more Mexicans are leaving the United States than coming in right now. So Mexico, as our primary source country for immigrants, is not necessarily what we're going to see in the future. And because we're seeing immigration from further south of Mexico, from different kinds of circumstances, it's not just all about getting jobs in the economy. It's actually people fleeing violence and crime and horrible conditions in those countries. How we manage and deal with that problem is going to require a lot more internationalism. That's one thing I think General Kelly will bring to the role, is having been down there in Southcom, actually having been a military/diplomat working with those governments. That's what he can bring to Homeland Security.
All right, it'll be interesting to see what new leadership will do in a new year. Teresa Cardinal Brown, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.